So the news is KZ Milton has been cleared to fully participate in spring practice. We got to talk about what that means for Florida State after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You got to help me with that corner shit.
What's up, kidfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, I want to talk about quarterbacks. I love talking about quarterbacks. I enjoy the conversation around the position battles that involve quarterbacks. And we have four that I think is really whittled to just one at Florida State. And that would be KZ Milton McKenzie, to those of y'all that don't know, Jordan Travis, Chuba Purdy, and Tate Rodemaker. Now, there's a lot of reasons as to why you might pick any one of those dudes, but I believe that this is McKenzie Milton's job to lose, even more so now that he has been fully cleared to participate in spring practice for Florida State. Huge win for Mike Norvell, which is one of the reasons why I was bullish on Florida State in my way too early top 25, with the assumption that he wins the starting job. If he didn't, you'd be looking at a four-star prospect in Chuba Purdy, coming out of Gilbert, Arizona, who did get some snaps before he needed to be sidelined for the rest of the year in November. He had a flare-up in his shoulder where he had already had surgery done and needed to have it surgically repaired again. James Blackman transferred from Florida State to Arkansas State. Tate Rodemaker coming out of Valdosta, Georgia, never looked like the answer there. And Jordan Travis was great when he was running the ball. I mean, at one point he was leading Florida State in rushing. But you want a quarterback. You want a signal caller. You want a proven winner. And that is what you got in McKenzie Milton. Just to draw this out, right? When he was just humming right along for Central Florida and the Knights, he was AAC Offensive Player of the Year, 2017-2018. And he had gone 27-6 as a starting quarterback, finished top 10 in the Heisman voting in 1 year. And he's passed for over 8,600 yards, rushed for over 1,000 yards, nearly 1,100 yards in his career. 92 touchdowns accounted for, 72 passing, 20 rushing. I believe that many of Florida State's hopes and dreams are going to be put on him. Now, they've also picked up a number of other outstanding transfers, including like Jermaine Johnson on edge, that I'm excited about. But I believe if you got the signal caller back there running this offense, you're going to be great, because if it's anything like the offense that he was running at Central Florida, you want the ball in his hands, because he loses his job to Dillon Gabriel, and all Dillon Gabriel did last year was lead the FBS in passing yards per game with 357. It behooves them to go fast. It behooves them to move fast. I think that Jordan Travis has a shot here, but he would have to be so much better throwing the football around and would have to push this thing past the spring into the summer, into fall camp. Same thing for Chuba Purdy, who I believe is the heir apparent to McKenzie Milton based on how he was recruited, and one of the first big-time recruits, blue-chip recruits, that Mike Norvell was able to really hang on to, bring in. I really love what he provides for them. And yes, he is the brother of one Brock Purdy, the starting quarterback at Iowa State, one of the handful of places where we know who the guy is going to be. And really looking around the rest of the country, we got some outstanding quarterback battles that I want to get into over the course of, our time together in March. But another one that just I thought was wild interesting is Northwestern, Hunter Johnson versus Ryan Helinski. That one is fascinating to me because both of those guys had been starters and had been unseeded. Johnson, of course, was a five-star quarterback in the 2017 class who watched Trevor Lawrence come in there and ruin every expectation that he was going to have of starting at Clemson. I mean, you saw what happened to Chase Bryce. He transferred to Duke. He since transferred to Appalachian State. But Hunter Johnson perhaps was going to be the guy at Northwestern, and it just never worked out that way. They bring in Peyton Ramsey as a grad transfer from Indiana. All they did was make it to the Big Ten championship game and acquit themselves well last year. I mean, that's an outstanding year, especially in a pandemic for Pat Fitzgerald's kiddos. Meanwhile, Helinski was a top 65 recruit, I think it was number 64 overall prospect in the 2019 class, part of this really good group of quarterbacks in the 2019 class that I liked, that a lot of people just weren't that high on because there was no Justin Fields, there was no Trevor Lawrence, but from Spencer Rattler to Sam Howell to Ryan Helinski, you can see why that 2019 class is starting to bear fruit, and I'm excited about what they could do. Getting a former starting quarterback from South Carolina to compete with a former five-star recruit to Clemson, two South Carolina products, at the journalism school of schools that is Northwestern, I find to be interesting, because even when Northwestern wants to be good, they got to go and recruit the South, and they got to go and recruit it out of somebody else's transfer portal. I feel like when we talk about these things, many coaches want to poo-poo kids going into the portal, but are very happy to go into the portal and get out what they need anytime they want to get it. One more, I think, quarterback battle that we haven't spoken enough about that I just want to touch on here briefly is the one going on at South Carolina. Luke Doty versus Jason Brown versus Colton Gaither. Doty moved from wide receiver to quarterback last year, and he's apparently going to be the guy who is given the most opportunity to win this job, if not lose it. I mean, he's a fantastic athlete, but you also got an All-American FCS transfer in Jason Brown from St. Francis in Pennsylvania. Not too shabby, right? Last time I saw an All-American quarterback transfer in from an FCS program, it was Kalen Newton, who is playing wide receiver at Auburn. I get that his future is a little bit different in the NFL, but I would have really loved to see him get an opportunity to compete for that job at Auburn. Now I think it's really going to be Bo Nix or Demetrius Davis, because Demetrius is just that dude. Like, Brian Harsin might have just lucked into one of the better quarterbacks that nobody's talking about in the 2021 class. But you got to like having an All-American. You got to like having that sort of pedigree, a veteran quarterback that can help you out. I don't know that Colton is going to really factor in three-star recruit, early enrollee to the 2021 class, and Shane Beamer is going to need all the help he can get to try to turn this group into the kind that can go and compete in that SEC East. But if Will Muschamp can do it, so can Shane Beamer. I'm excited to see what that looks like. I think if you go with Doty, you're going to have somebody that can throw the ball around, but also you got Kevin Harris, like throw the ball too, not throw the ball around. But you also got Kevin Harris in the backfield back there, and you probably want to feed him as much as possible because he's one of the better tailbacks in the country returning. All right, that's it for me. Deuces.